spoiler alert, no cancer. Welcome back to Dramatic Evaluation. In this video, I'm going to be doing a little bit of something different and just going to give you guys a quick update. A little more personal video, a little update on my health and what I've been dealing with over the past couple weeks. I kind of mentioned in my last couple videos that I was going through some personal stuff and kind of almost contemplating if I was going to continue doing this channel. In the middle of that, kind of decided I do want to keep doing this channel, just if anything, to just keep my mind occupied and distract myself from what I was dealing with. So I just wanted to give you guys kind of an update on everything I was going through and give a little more details and specifics. So this all started, I guess I'll just go from like start to finish of like what first happened to where I'm at right now. So the first thing that happened, I was riding my bike. This happened almost a year ago, by the way, last summer. And it happened again. So I was riding my bike, my heart rate, which I monitor on my trusty Apple Watch here, spiked up to 206, which is insane. The highest my heart rate ever goes at the peak of climbing a hill is like 165. So 206 was alarming, and then stopped after a few minutes. It kind of went down to like 180, 175, and which is still high. I sat there for a little while, and I was kind of like, okay, like last time this happened, because doctors take a million years to schedule out, I got into a cardiologist. Like I got into my primary care doctor, then a cardiologist a few like weeks or a month later. I wore a heart monitor. It didn't happen again, so they were like, everything seems fine. Everything seems good with your heart. So since it was happening right now in the moment, and this was 2 weeks ago now, 2.5 weeks ago, I was like, I'm just going to go to their emergency room. Long story short they did a bunch of tests. I was there for like 7 hours, 8 hours, just waiting, doing they took my blood like 3 times. I had like 2 holes in this arm, 1 in this arm, and then they put an IV in that arm for later. Billion blood tests. They were like, everything's checking out and it's looking okay as far as like you didn't have a heart attack and whatnot. They did a chest x-ray, and the doctor came in and said she saw something. There was something like pulmonary, something or other enlarged that she wanted to look closer at and do a CAT scan to get a better look at what's going on. First time I've ever done that, I think. Went back in the room, waited for a while, and then she comes in and she's like, yep, so everything was good with your heart, but we saw some nodules on your lungs that look worrisome for malignancy. And it gave me a paper with like a bunch, like 5 or 6 listed out, like in like the sizes of them and stuff. So I'm like immediate surreal. This washes over me of like, all right, is this real life? Like, are we talking like lung cancer here? Like, and she's like, I don't know, like, but yeah, like it looks like it could, it's worrisome for malignancy is what they said. So they're like, you need and she was like leveled with me. She was like, you need to go tell your doctor tomorrow, your primary care doctor, what's going on. Have them help you find a pulmonologist, which is a lung doctor, in the next week. If you can't get in the next week, she literally said this. She was like, I'm not supposed to say this, protocol and etiquette or whatever. Like, I'm not supposed to say this, but I'm telling you, if it were me, I would, and you can't get in within a week to a pulmonologist to check this out and do a biopsy and all this stuff, I would drive up to Stanford or like UCLA, like one of the big hospitals, and complain of shortness of breath just to get in to their emergency room, and then show them all this paperwork I'm giving you and have them treat you, like figure this out as soon as possible. So obviously very alarming. She had quite the sense of urgency and struck the fear into my heart of what on earth is going on here. All I could think was, oh, I have lung cancer. Great. And go into just the darkest thoughts, the darkest places of like, how long has this been here? Like, is it possible they're going to do a biopsy, say, yes, you have this, and then, oh, it looks like you have 3 months to live. You know what I mean? Like, just all the like darkest thoughts you can imagine, right? Very fortunate that I was able to get in to a bunch of these things, or these upcoming things, quickly. So I'll kind of breeze through the rest of this stuff up to the end game here, because that was a lot longer talking about that initial visit than I expected to, and I don't want this video to be too long. So went to my primary care doctor. I just drove there. It's impossible to call. Good Lord, getting in with doctors, and by the way, 100% success rate of places through this whole process, offices and whatnot, saying, oh, we'll call you back and schedule, or we'll call you back with this information. 100% success rate of them not calling back. They don't call back. So you got to call back. So did a lot of that. I couldn't even get through to someone at the office at my primary care. I just drove there, straight up. Drove there, went up to the desk, told them what was going on. I was like, I need to see somebody. Of course, my doctor, he's like kind of half in and out, like on the way to retirement, I think. He's older. So there's this other doctor that kind of helps out at that office when he's gone, and I've seen her before. So she got me in there that afternoon. She was super helpful, so helpful, on my side. Like, just like, she's like, I'm going to call multiple pulmonologists, see who I can get you in with quicker. I'm going to schedule this like PET CT scan, which is a scan that like scans your whole body for like, can pick up like cancer. She was just on it. She gave me her cell phone number so that I could like text and call her, which is incredible. Bypass the whole office and automated system stuff and like not being able to get a hold of people. So that was really, really cool. She was able to get me into a pulmonologist the next Wednesday. So like within a week, there's the pulmonologist appointment. So I was like, okay, I can do that and not worry about having to drive up to some big hospital or something. Do the PET scan, which is a weird experience kind of. And they say you're radioactive for 8 hours, so you can't be around pregnant women or children. So I kind of like just went home and like isolated for a while after that. The next day, my doctor calls me and says something to the effect of like, it doesn't seem as concerning with the nodules on your lungs. Okay, that was like the first thing, right? The whole thing of like what started this. And she's like, but your lymph nodes in your chest, multiple lymph nodes in your chest are all swollen and big and lighting up the wrong color, pointing to it's probably lymphoma. You probably have lymphoma, is what I was told. So you know, continue spinning out, trying to take things one step at a time, but very difficult to not worry, obviously, and not wonder. That's the whole thing, man, is like not knowing, so tough. Sitting around wondering, waiting, not knowing, then getting these little updates like that one of like a bad update, but still not knowing, but like being told, you know, this is probably what's going on. It's like, cool, you know? So then the next day is when I see my pulmonologist. I go to see him. And this was the best, most positive news in the whole time. This is a week and a day after the initial ER visit, where I first was told about the nodules on my lungs. So he didn't seem concerned at all about those. What the first doctor said was, you need to get to a pulmonologist, have him biopsy those nodules to see if they're malignant. He was like, these are too small to even biopsy. I wouldn't even. He just did not seem concerned at all about that. But then he's looking at the PET scan. He's like, yeah, the lymph nodes are big. They're bigger than you'd want them to be or expect them to be. So that's what we need to look at and figure out here. He schedules a biopsy the next day. I'm able to get in at the hospital, and I get down there. Thankfully, I have an awesome friend who sacrificed, taking off work to drive me down, because I was going to get put under, so I couldn't be driving. So he drove me down, stayed there, and drove me back. So thank you. That's incredible. Shout out to Twan for that. And I did that. It was the first time I've ever been under, so I was there was some anxiety going into that, being put under for the first time, not knowing how that was going to go. And also I asked the doctor, I was like, do I have to be put under? I've never done that before. Is there any way I can just not do that? I don't care if it's like painful or whatever. And he's like, no, you have to be, because so what it is like they stick a camera like down your throat into my chest, and it's got a camera on it, and then a needle comes out. So he like goes down, like finds there's the lymph node with the camera, and then a friggin' needle shoots out and like takes a sample of the thing. And he said one of the lymph nodes was like right on top of my heart and near he said we're talking about like millimeters, like 1 to 2 millimeters from like a major like artery or like vessel or whatever. So like if I were to move as he's like trying to shoot the needle out, I get stabbed in the heart and die, type of thing. So so he's like, yeah, you got to be put out so you don't move, to say the least. I was kind of a little anxious about that procedure. Go do that. Thank God it was all good. It went well. It was successful. I woke up from the anesthesia. I wasn't nauseous or anything. I was just tired and groggy, but I was kind of like fine. So everything went well. It was good. So then now it's the waiting game again of waiting for those results. So, and then by the way, this whole time, the support and love that I got from all my friends, my family, my coworkers, my bosses at work was just incredible. I can't even begin to say how much support I received and how much that meant to me. Because obviously going through something like this where I'm tripping, it's like impossible not to trip. And dude, the first few days especially, could not sleep, kept waking up in the night or not being able to fall asleep, couldn't eat, had no appetite. I was just a wreck. I was so stressed out. And then, they're doing a bunch of other blood tests to see if I had tuberculosis or valley fever or some of these other things that would maybe explain the nodules on my lungs, and waiting for that stuff. But then all that was negative. So just like the whole not knowing and trying to figure this out, and that first like week was like really rough. I told my mom and dad and I told my bosses within the first few days, just because I was like, I'm going to be in and out of the office, man. Appointments, like figuring this out, like, and my bosses were super supportive and like, your health comes first, do not trip. My coworkers, I've an incredible team that works with me, and they fully got my back. They were like, get out of here, like go figure this out. Like, your health comes first. We got you covered. So I, very fortunate with that. My friend group, just incredibly awesome guys who just completely had my back. Every single one of them was like, anything you need, we got you, so I just, thank you guys, all of you, you know who you are, and thank you for being there for me through this, man, because I needed it. And that was the one silver lining, I guess, of this whole thing. It was like, I did not feel alone. So anyway, where was I? So I was waiting for the biopsy results. I had to wait over the weekend. They said it would be like up to 5 days. So I wait 2 days, then it's the weekend. So it's 2 more days. Then Monday, I'm waiting. Nothing. Tuesday, they call me. So yeah, it was about 5 real-time days, not business days, but 5 days. I get the call from the doctor himself who did the biopsy procedure. Tripping, answering this call. I go in the conference room at my work. I close the door. I'm sitting there and I'm like preparing myself for the worst, but trying not to think the worst. And brother, he says, well, I've got some good news. You don't have cancer. Okay, so the biopsy came back negative for all of that nonsense. There was no cancer cells found. And the joy and elation and shock, and it was almost as surreal as being told what I was told the first day. I was just like almost in disbelief of like, are you really? Like, sure, because that was my huge concern, was that. And so he said, so that's the good news, didn't find that. The, I guess, bad news, but doesn't seem too bad right now. I'm still going through this and figuring this out, and this is going to take time. But after ruling that out, he diagnosed me with sarcoidosis. I've been doing a little research on what that is. It's basically, long story short, it is a like condition or disease or whatever that can affect different organs. They don't know what brings it on necessarily. It's kind of, there's some unknown about it, but it can affect different organs, but in most cases it affects the lungs and the lymph nodes. So that explains the lymph nodes being swollen and enlarged. Didn't really say anything again about the nodules on the lungs, so I need to ask him about that, of like, because he's just at no point did he seem concerned about that. So I kind of want to, I have a list of questions that I want to ask him about, so I'm definitely gonna ask him about that. But yeah, I don't know what's up with that. But this condition, like, it can go away on its own sometimes, or sometimes you need to like treat it, like maybe like a steroid treatment over the course of like multiple months, which would suck, and I don't want to do that. So he's his suggestion, or like what we're doing right now, is he scheduled me for 3 months from now. He's like, we'll look at what's going on, we'll do a CAT scan, look at everything, do breathing tests, see how it's affecting you. If it's still affecting you, then we'll talk about possible treatment options or whatever at that time. But for now, just kind of chill. So the fact that he wasn't no sense of urgency now, and it's 3 months out and there's no cancer, pretty stoked. So I had an oncologist appointment already kind of in the works, because my doctor was like, if that's when she saw the PET scan and was like, this might be lymphoma, you're going to need an oncologist. We know one here. So we like set up this appointment. I happened to have that day, that after this doctor called me with those results, and I was like, I thought about it, like I could cancel this, and he said I could cancel it because like, yeah, you don't have cancer. He's not gonna, he's just gonna say you don't and send you home. I just decided to keep it and go. I don't care. I'll pay for the appointment and my time just to have a second person confirm that I don't have cancer. That was worth it to me. So I went. This doctor was super thorough and attention to detail, and he went through all the scans with me. He was like showing me all the PET scan imagery and going through everything and like pointing at this, pointing at that, talking about all this stuff. Confirmed I do not have cancer. Okay, spoiler alert, no cancer. And he was kind of like looking at the lymph nodes. He's like, so yeah, like this, when I first saw this scan, like I also was like, oh, we need to look at that for lymphoma. That's what it looks like. But then seeing the biopsy results and then looking at something else that he was showing me in the chest x-ray of like what sarcoidosis can look like with this like fluffy butterfly looking thing going on, he was like, yeah, everything looks consistent with sarcoidosis. So I agree with your pulmonologist. So he was like, at the end of it, he's like, so you don't need me, feel free to come back later if something pops off, but for now, you don't need to schedule a follow-up with me, and just work with your pulmonologist, see what he wants you to do. He did say that if it were him, he would probably consider just starting me on steroid treatment now, because why not, is what he said. But like he said there are side effects, and that was what my pulmonologist says, there's side effects from steroids. So he's like, since this can go away on its own sometimes in some people, let's start there, and then if it doesn't, then we'll treat it. So I've been doing a little looking around on the internet, which I did none of during this whole time because I was just scared, and you can't, like, Google is a joke when you're looking at medical stuff. It's the rabbit hole you don't want to go down. So if you're ever dealing with something like this, don't do that. But now that I know the diagnosis, I've been looking at stuff, and again, just all this random conflicting information. So I definitely want to talk to my doctor to ask questions and stuff. I'm just trying to figure this out still, and I'm going to be dealing with this, but it just seems a lot less dangerous, worrisome than the initial fear of having lung cancer or lymphoma. So that's what I've been going through. That is where I'm at now. And so I will for sure continue making videos on this channel every Sunday. Really, I've been putting them out Saturday. Yeah, so I'll stick to that promise of every Sunday, even though they typically are going to probably come out Saturday. And that's pretty much it. So thanks for listening to this. Thanks for watching the video. Thanks for listening to me talk about this thing that is not related to movies or shows like the rest of the stuff on this channel. But every once in a while I want to do little story time updates about my life. And if I want to talk about something, I'm going to talk about it. That's kind of what this channel is for me. So hopefully you guys like that too and can get behind it and support the channel. Please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel. Please comment. Let me know if you've gone through anything recently. I definitely learned a lot through this process and kind of gained a new perspective on some things. So let me know if you can relate to any of that in the comments. And that's it for this video. Stay tuned. Until next time.